Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to our Facebook Live series, The Action Plan. Again, I have Ram back with me again, the manufacturer's scalability coach, someone who has a large experience and a long-standing experience in running his own business as an entrepreneur, as well as helping other entrepreneurs scale their business, as well as revamp their business from scratch. He has been one of the youngest Rotary presidents, if I'm not wrong. And he has a lot of experience on the personal front as well as the professional front. So today we are going to see how we could get funding for our projects, whether it is a startup or it is an existing business. How do we go about first facing this challenge of requirements of funds, as well as how do we go about securing the funds that we need to keep our operations running, as well as starting up an organization. So good evening, Ram. Thank you for sparing your time.
Thank you, Gren. Good evening, and good evening to the viewers around the world and in India. So to talk about project fund management, initially we all face the problem of getting the initial capital. It starts with that. So we can again, Gren, when we spoke about the post-COVID, how to go about today. Now, before starting the session, I would like to apologize to my viewers because the first thing after the post-COVID I should have done is how to do a study, basically a business plan, and then go into the finance management. But now what I'm doing is I'm directly jumping on the gun and going to finance management because I see a huge requirement for this today. I see a lot of my customers and inquiries coming for, do you arrange funds? They don't want me to go into the project. Straight come with me to come to me with a project and say, I have the project, get me the fund. So today I thought it will be right addressing this, and then I will definitely cover up how to do a business plan and what are the studies to be done in the next FB live sessions. I would definitely assure you that. But coming back to today's topic, so what is fund management and how do we go about the whole thing? See, in the first initial stages, what we do is I am a working professional. And from a working professional, I want to start a business. So there are a lot of people in this category. They are afraid telling that they might lose in the business. So what if I invest and I lose the money? I'll become a loaner. I'll have to pay banks and everybody loans. So this is the first problem we face when people come to me when I see this. The second is with companies, MSMEs. So these fellows literally now these people are stuck after the COVID. They have eroded all the money they had as capital and everything. Now they're stuck to actually to forego to keep their operations running. And the third is, of course, the corporates, the big corporates. So as we say, we divide these into three and we will address each one separately. So starting when we take up the initial person who wants to come from a professional background to an entrepreneurial background, first he sees what project he has. Friends, let us be clear. First, you will have to have belief in your project. If you believe you can do it, it can be done. If you are shaky and you are itself a bit nervous, it's no good. You have to be confident about the project you're proposing. So once you're confident and you have a project report in hand and you tell that you want 1 lakh or 5 lakh rupees of money to start this project, now where do we go for these funds? The first person whom we rightly think about is a banker. But when we go as an individual, like after our professional career and we go into entrepreneurship, the banks are reluctant. Because you see today the pressure on the banks have to perform, and they are also in the stock exchange where they have to show huge profits and give dividends, declare dividends. So the management of banks are really unwilling to give to startups unless it's really a very good proposal and they are convinced. So taking your file, we'll have to literally run around people to get your funding in place. So the bankers, I would say, are really reluctant today because of the situations we are facing. What happens to the next? As we had spoken, a very light mode, I touched this on the other day, we go on for something called seed funding because you're basically planting a seed, which is to grow into a tree. So in the seed funding, we have a lot of people in the private limited companies which do fund you. There are a lot of other organizations also. See, there are a lot of organizations like NGOs which have come up, which give money to their community people. They want their community to develop. So they have a community fund. where you can go put your project there and get ask for money from there. So when you go there, these people really encourage you and they really give you money and they tell you to start up the project. So how do you ask for the fund? See, when for friends, like when you're starting a new project, say your total outlay is 5 lakhs. First, see whether you have the 5 lakhs in hand. See, this is very, very crucial because without money in hand, don't go for a funding. Because what we're talking here, I will come very clearly, it's called an exit plan. So what happens if you fail? Let's see, 90% we will not allow you to fail, but the worst scenario, like a COVID situation arises and you fail in your business, you should be able to exit out without getting a loan into your house, because that spoils the total harmony of your house. So whether you have the 5 lakhs which you're talking about, you can really, even if you lose it, you will be able to fund it up. If you have, then go for the funding. And friends, let us be clear about another thing. When you have the fund in hand, don't invest the fund you have in hand, because you lose that fund, you lose your corpus, and you tend to come to the road straight. That is your kitty. That's your safe money which you have kept at home. In case of any failure, I will take it. That's your emergency fund which you have parked in your house or in your bank account or in a fixed deposit or wherever you call it, in your insurance policy, wherever it is. So that is your money which you have saved, and that's your emergency fund. Please do not touch the emergency fund when you come into business. Always borrow money, because this is the one which I've learned, a success mantra from all the companies I've gone across. They have huge tons and tons of money lying in their accounts, but they don't touch it. Even if it's a small project of 5 crores or 10 crores, they go for a funding. And getting funds for these guys is very easy because the balance sheets are so strong. And one thing which we'll have to understand, getting a bank loan, you'll have to prove that you don't need a loan to get a loan. Your financials have to be that strong. Only then the banker is convinced, yes, I can give this fellow a loan. For example, you go to a bank and ask for a credit card. If your CIBIL is very bad, this fellow will tell, I will not give you a credit card. But if you tell him, give me a credit card based on my fixed deposit I have with you, any banker is ready to give it, because he has that cushion of taking the fixed deposit if you default on a credit card loan. The same thing is here. So when you go for a loan, the bankers want to assure themselves, if they fund and if they lose, they have a kitties. That's what we're calling that emergency fund. So you don't have to go anywhere. The banker will fund you straight away. The easiest way and the cheapest way. When you go for a private fund, it's a bit costlier. But when we do a project report, we will factor this interest in your cash flow statements. That's why I told you we should have done the business plan before coming to this. But since I had a huge inquiry and a huge question on this, I've come directly to this, skipping that part. The financial management and the project management, I will definitely touch upon. But today, when we talk about project funding for the individuals, yes, we can go ahead and we can get the fund from the private institutions, from a community fund, from anywhere, or from your well-wisher who can fund you. Since it's a small capital, they can fund you. And as you grow, you scale up. Don't go for a very big project. Go step by step. Say, for example, if you're taking up a dealership for something, let it be in one area. First, concentrate on one area before you can go to the second area. See, inside Chennai itself, you can take one area in Chennai. Don't go for the total Chennai because it's a huge market. You will not be able to cater to that market. So one part in Chennai, do it with the capital which you have. So always we will take a calculated risk. We will not take a huge risk. We will take a calculated risk in every step. And to that risk, we will see where we are safe. So this is the first part.
Sorry, Ram, I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're talking about taking a loan, right? And if you say I have my fund, wouldn't the interest rates I get from a private organization or an NGO be much more higher than what I would get from a bank?
Very true, Gren. That's why I told, when you have that emergency fund parked, when we go to the banker, I will always tell him, see, this is a project report. This is a cash I need. And for this funding, I have an emergency fund already there with the bank. So you can give based on that emergency fund. Because otherwise, what the banker will ask is, he'll ask for a collateral security. Again, you're putting your assets at risk. What I'm telling is, you should not keep your assets, your frontline assets at risk and do business. See, keep your assets safe to yourself. There are other means of methods of funding today. As I told you, we will factor this interest in your cash flow statement. For example, if a private institute gives me at 15% per annum or 21% per annum, I will factor this 21% in a cash flow. So what I will do is, if your emergency fund is 5 lakhs, I will do a project report only for 4 lakhs. So I will factor that 1 lakh for interest burden, because I cannot directly go and ask you one fine day, give me the money for paying the interest. It will be factored in your financial statement that you will take care of this particular part as well. So it's a part of the project management which we do. So when we prepare the detailed project report, all this forms a part of the report. So when we talk about, that's why we will be very clear when we go for the funding, whether it's a private or a bank. Accordingly, we will do the cash flow statement.
I have one more question. So when I go to a bank, you said they would ask me either for money in the bank as a collateral or even an asset, right, which they would take as collateral to give me the loan. But when you go to an NGO or a company, why would they give me a loan either way? For them, it would be equally a risk to lend out money to an individual, right? So what would they ask me as collateral or something as security for the loan?
Perfect, and excellent question, because the need of the hour as well. Now, if you go to a private institution or a community fund, this community knows you well. See, next we will go to a community, because community funds are huge today. Everybody knows. Every community has set up a fund for bringing up their entrepreneurs. They don't want to work anymore. They want to create as much of entrepreneurs as possible. So the community knows you very well. So the risk they're taking is, we know the person, we know their family, then we know the background, so we're giving it to him. So that is the community fund which we're addressing. When you go to a private institution, it's equal to a bank. But what he will do is, he will not be so stringent like the bank. He will give you some leniency. Okay, see, for example, the next, when you go to an MSME, he's defaulted. He will not care much about the default. But a banker, once you've defaulted, forget the loan in the bank. You cannot take a loan. And the startup also, see, Gren, it is easy to convince a private company about my concept. You go to a banker, he always has this huge baggage, because he's seen a lot of startups already. He will say, no, I've seen everything, this will not work. He will give his opinion before you could give yours. If you put the project report, he says, I'm the master of all the things, and he will talk to you. And he will say that this is not a good project, you please take it and walk out. I will not give you the fund. So convincing a banker is very, very tough. That's why I told you, when we have that emergency fund, I will tell him, boss, you don't have to do anything. In case I default, my emergency fund is there. I will lien that account to him. So you can take it from that account. You can directly debit that account and take the money, and you can settle yourself. You can leave me in peace. So what I tend to lose is, I tend to lose that saving which I've done for so many years. But the other assets are safe when you do an emergency fund.
Great, Ram. I just have one more question before you can go forward. Now, there are many online options that you can do, like there are different startup methodologies to go online and seek funding, right? Is that seed funding, or what do you call that?
Seed funding, there are separate companies which are doing this. Yeah. And separate entrepreneurs, like as I told you, like in last video also, we had this in the FP Live, like Mr. Ratan Tata, Mr. Nandan Nilekani, and all these people, the big bulls are doing this. In the share market, if you see, you can say Mr. Rakesh Junjunwala, Radhakishan Damani, all these people are really flushing out their funds for startups. These are the people who really think, yes, this can work out. We do believe. How many people would have believed Ola or Uber 10 years back? But today, that's ruling the market. People don't want to take their cars. They just call or pick up the phone. And the best thing is, Uber does not own one single taxi of theirs. Everything they've taken on contract. Everybody knows this success mantra. But how many people would have believed this concept when we were talking, spoken about it 5 or 6 years back? Where very few people have taken this concept. The same way of the Zomato and Swiggy. Today, they're ruling the market. In the pandemic, people don't want to go out and eat. Swiggy makes real good money. And Zomato is coming out with an IPO. The fellow says, I'm going to come out with an initial public offering. He has no assets at all. All he needs is a driver with a two-wheeler and a license. So with this fellow, he starts up. And today, these fellows have grown multifold. These are success stories in front of us. And when you talk about, you made a very valid point, Gren, when you talk about online, dear viewers, be very careful, because the online fraudsters are huge. First, I will tell you, we will fund your project and they will take your project report. After 2 days, this fellow will tell you, your report is good, we will fund it, but you will have to make an initial deposit of so much. Okay. See, there starts the game. You start giving your money, which you have in hand, to take the loan, but you will never get this loan.
Okay.
Online, be very, very careful when you're going. Check the authenticity of the website and everything, and then go on for the online funding. That will be my advice, Glenn.
That's good. But the places like Kickstart, I mean those sort of places like Kickstart and those sites where you can actually go and put up your prototype and seek funding. Is that crowdfunding or what do you call that?
It's seed funding, basically, Glenn, we call seed and angel funding. See, because seed funding, since it's a startup, but if the same thing is for a concern which is already doing it, it's called angel funding because an angel comes to you. He does not know you, he does not know anything. He sees you on the website, and this fellow sees your prototype is okay. He believes your concept. So that's called angel funding. So he says, an angel, like an angel comes all of a sudden and helps you. This fellow comes and helps you. So it's called angel funding there, basically.
Okay. So when you're talking about funding per se, okay, what is the difference for a startup getting a funding and a company that's in debt? Is it any different, or is it going to be that
both are almost in a similar situation? Because see, when you go and talk to a person about a startup, first, people are very reluctant to believe you because all these years you've been working under somebody or a professional. So believing you as an entrepreneur is a question mark. The same way for a debt-ridden company, you are already in minus. You go to a banker, banker's closed. See, when you call yourself a non-performing asset, you're finished. And when you go to a bank, I don't know how many people know this. He will first analyze two things in a balance sheet. He will take a creditor list and he'll split that into two. He will talk about the creditors below 6 months and above 6 months. Okay. So the creditors above 6 months are considered as bad debts. He will say that fund did not come to you because it's on above 6 months. Mm-hmm. So if it's below 6 months, he will consider it good. We can collect it. So it's a collectible fund. So as I told you that I will come to when I'm addressing the companies. But Graham, when a company is in debt, the biggest place where we can get funding is the private funding, Graham, because you can go to a community fund, you can go to a private organization where they really do this angel and seed funding and all and get your funding. Because these fellows, what they do is they analyze the market. Rather than you doing it, they do it for you because they're going to fund you. So for example, if classic example I can take is in the stock exchange, 2 years back, all the pharma companies are doing extremely bad because pharma is a stress sector where they spend a lot of money on the research and development, because every drug they do develop has a lot of research and development. So the money goes, a lot of money is spent on the research and development. So people are really reluctant to fund the farmers. But today, after COVID, every fellow is behind pharma. They're telling, I will give you the fund. Because they want the pharma companies to really get the capsules and the injections ready. So every fellow is behind it. Scenario 2 years back is totally different from today. So these fellows, if you are in minus, friends, I'm talking about the people who are in real debt. If you are in debt, first analyze your sector where you are in, how it was performing and how it is performing today. And the things could have changed. If it has changed, it is for your betterment. Friends, today, post-COVID, it's a question of survival. Let us understand. It's the survival of the fittest. That's why people who are stashed with cash will survive today. People who are really starved with cash will tend to die out of the business. So people who are starved with cash, we want them. We don't want you to die out because you might have a success story. We will develop on that. We will get you the funds. We will make you even more successful in the days to come. Because you've had a success story, we can take that and we can replicate that model. That's all I say. Because you would have thought the best example is the hotel industry, Gren, in this scenario. Because last 7 months, they've had no income at all. But they had to maintain the property. They had to do all this stuff. So they have spent a lot of money where they're really looking forward for funds. The hospitality industry, basically. So these people you can get. Because, see, now people are all these. Let us understand one thing. 7 months, people have been inside homes. They've seen only each other's faces. They're getting mad with each other, seeing the same face for the last 7 months. So they want a break. They want to go out. This Christmas holidays itself, you see how many people, because exactly today and tomorrow, the schools will be finishing up the exams. So how many people are taking a break? Where are they going to go stay? One in their cousin's house. If they don't have a cousin's house, they are going to go stay in a hotel. So your business is coming up again. The aviation industry, another industry which was totally cashed out because they had to maintain the whole fleet of aircrafts like Indigo and SpiceJet and all. They Shares just crashed everything. But today they've again come back. The share market, they're really doing well. And SpiceJet has gone above 100% because I'm doing fund management for some people. I'm really following the market from 9:30 to 3:30. I know all this stuff. They're really doing well. So the hospitality industry, you're coming back. Don't lose hope. You are the future. People really need it, and corporates are going to spend huge money on the holiday packages of all their employees. So don't lose hope. Come back. The hospitality industry will definitely do good.
That was great, Ram. I think the last message was very inspirational. I think for all those people who are really striving to get out of the situation they're in, this would be a big motivation for them to see the future and try to reach out to you for help. So for those who are looking to get project funding, I would have the information of Ram in this video comments, as well as when I put it on YouTube, I would have it on the comments in the YouTube channel as well. Reach out to him and take the benefit of his knowledge and experience of procuring and searching, getting funds, depending on what is your need and your niche, so that you can use his services for the future. So thank you, Ram. And I think it was an app.
Yeah, like just to go on, for the individuals itself, immaterial of the sector they are in, today we have funds available because a lot of foreign funds have come in. Foreign funds, foreign companies have set up bases here, and they are doing a lot of work. So this is as far as the individual is concerned. Now, when we go to the MSME sector, as we have already discussed, these fellows, like the MSME people, are in two categories. Either he's cash rich or he's cash starved. So for the cash rich people, see, how do we say we are cash rich? Because it's basically a partnership business. See, from an individual, you're moving to a partnership business. Partnership, these fellows have a huge profit which has been retained in the company. So what I advise these people is, don't touch your profit. Your profit is your emergency fund here. Go ask for a funding based on the profits you've earned. The profit you've earned is your emergency fund. Don't use that fund, because people tend to overreact at times because they think that their business has been doing really good. They've really earned a huge profit. I can take the profit and I can multiply my business. There we make a mistake. Your profit has been doing, your business has been doing good on a certain model, on a certain scale. When you're expanding the scale, will it be the same? Is a question mark, which you've got to answer before scaling up. See, because you've been doing this on a small scale, yes. On the larger scale, will it work? Please do your homework, then go for it. You want the project report? I can do it for you. Again, as I told you, the project report has to be done for that. So that we can do. So for the MSMEs, first get your basics right. If your profit is good, 80% of your profit take for funding for a banker. Go to a banker or a private funding and ask them, this is the thing I have, I need. And for MSMEs, I can add another particular person who can fund this crowdfunding. This is totally a new concept. People, like-minded people who come and who invest part monies. So they become part owners of your company. This can be done as a limited liability partnership, LLPs, or it can be done by bringing in from a partnership company. You can grow into a private limited company. You can grow to the next stage, where you make these people, the crowdfunding people, as shareholders. So your company grows. So you go to the next level, and you can really tell people that this is a private limited company, this is what you're doing, and you expand. Basically, you're scaling up your operations. This is for the cash rich people. For the cash starved people, the same which I told for the individual. Don't lose hope. See what your past has been and see the future of this business, how it is going to go, whether it's being a dealership or it's a manufacturer. It's very good, Gren, because we have a product in hand to market. So it's easy to go and ask for a fund. If you're talking about a concept, it's a bit tough because the people have to understand the concept. But a product, it's easy to convince people. See, this is a product. Do you believe? Yes, then get me the fund. But community funds are huge today. So for the MSMEs and the individuals, I would prefer them going to the banks first. If the banks negate their offer, you can go to the community. And if the community rejects, you don't have a community basically, which has such a type of fund, then you can go and for something like angel or a seed funding. There are a lot of companies. I can suggest you some companies as well if you come to me, and I can do things for you. I can prepare the project report where we can show this was a loss and how we offset this loss. Because we tend to earn and make up the loss. That's the wrong concept. We earn and finish up the losses slow, part by part. We can't put all the money which you have made in profits to the losses. That cannot be done, Gren. Over a period of time, say 10% of the profit every year, I will allocate for the old loans I have amassed over a period of years. So slowly you repay. When you repay money to a creditor, he is happy to wait because he knows money is coming back to him. So anybody is ready to wait. Only when you don't pay and when you avoid calls, when you start avoiding the person, the whole problem starts. So this is my basic advice for the MSMEs as well. And if any questions, we can take it, we can go to the corporates directly.
That's great information, Ram. I think as we're coming close to the end of the half an hour, I think we'll stop this conversation here. It was very engrossing for me, at least, and a lot of new information which was very useful to me as an entrepreneur itself. If I knew this when I was starting my company, I think I would have gone a different way and come to you to help me get my funding and gone much more bigger than I have taken to grow to where I am today. So thank you for sparing your time, Ram, and we'll take it up again. We'll, depending on the comments of the viewers in this video, if they feel they need more information, we could carry on this topic about funding itself. As I think there is much more you need to share from your side, in my opinion. Or we could go back to the project report, as you said, and start back from there and come back to the funding as a second time. We'll decide depending on the feedback of this question. So if anybody has any questions, please do put it in the comments of this video, and I'll get it to Ram so that he can respond directly back to you. I would also have the information of Ram in this video comments. You can reach out to him for any information about funding or any help regarding a project startup, as well as an existing business as well. So thank you, Ram, for sparing the time today. It was great talking to you as usual. We'll catch up next week with a similar or a different topic again.
Definitely, Grant. I'll be happy to touch upon the company funding as well. If anybody needs venture capitalism or private equity, please do contact me because that's one area which we are going to touch in the future. And I'll be happy to assist you in your funding aspects of your project. Please do get in touch. We'll be happy to help you. And since we're signing off and we'll be meeting only after 14 days, have a safe Christmas and a happy New Year. Enjoy, guys. Come back fresh to the New Year. We have a totally new year and a totally problem-free year to work ahead, and we have a lot of things to look forward to. Great, a happy year ending and a happy year start. Thank you, Gren.
On this awesome note, I'll sign off as well. Wishing you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from Grenville, the business planning coach. We'll be back 2 weeks from now with a similar topic, and we will take it forward in the series, All the Action Plan. Take care and stay well. This is Grenville wishing you good night.